ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ጥራት ባለው ስልጠና ልዩነት መፍጠር ዋናው ዓላማው ነው። ከከፍተኛ ትምህርት አግባብነትና ጥራት ኤጀንሲ ሙሉ ዕውቅና ባገኘንባቸው በማስተርስ ፕሮግራም ኤምቢኤ በስትራቴጂክ ማኔጅመንት፣ ኤምቢኤ በቢዝነስ ሊደርሺፕ፣ ኤምቢኤ በሪስክና ኢንሹራንስ፣ ኤምቢኤ በባንኪንግና ፋይናንስ፣ ኤምኤስሲ በኢንተርናሽናል ትሬድና ኢኮኖሚክስ፣ ኤምኤ በሆስፒታሊቲ ማኔጅመንት፣ ኤምኤ በሎጂስቲክስና ሰፕላይ ቼን ማኔጅመንት፣ ኤምኤስሲ በአቪዬሽን ማኔጅመንት ተማሪዎቻችን በልዩነት ይማራሉ። በኬንያ ሀገር ከሚገኙ ስመጥር ዩኒቨርሲቲዎች በመጡ ፕሮፌሰሮች ስልጠናው ይሰጣል። ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ በዲግሪ ፕሮግራም በአቪዬሽን ማኔጅመንት፣ በአካውንቲንግና ፋይናንስ፣ በማርኬቲንግ ማኔጅመንት፣ በሆቴል ማኔጅመንት በምዝገባ ላይ ነን። በአጫጭር ኮርሶችም በፍላይት ኦፕሬሽን፣ በቲኬቲንግና ሪዘርቬሽን፣ በሆስቴስ፣ በሆስፒታሊቲ ማኔጅመንት እናሰለጥናለን። አድራሻ ከ22 አደባባይ ወደ ሾላ በሚወስደው መንገድ ላይ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ህልሞን እውን ያደርጋል።
Good morning, Rosina.
Good morning, teacher.
Good morning. I'm reading you loud and clear. How are we?
I read you well.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, Jared.
Good morning, Mr.
How are you this morning? All right?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Very good. Okay, students, we have enough time now. We are on page 117, emergency communication. Imposing silence. Impose, the word impose is just መገደብ ኢምፖዝ ማዘዝ አድርግ አታድርግ ማለት ትእዛዝ መስጠት that's imposition impose እከሌ imposition ያበዛል ትእዛዝ ያበዛል that's what it means. So imposing silence means ordering silence. Example, all stations Walden Tower stop transmitting Mayday. Walden Tower says the emergency is over, so stop transmitting Mayday. Fast Air 345 stop transmitting Mayday. Maybe Fast Air 345 was discussing about Mayday, and the tower is sailing in. Walden Tower is sailing Fast Air 345, transmitting to stop transmitting Mayday. That's what it says. Fast Air is any one company. Maybe it's a German company. It's a British or Belgian company. It could be anything. That is the name of the company, Fast Air. And the number is the flight number, of course. Page 118. Termination of distress and silence. When an aircraft is no longer in distress, the traffic shall transmit a message cancelling the distress condition, or the ground station. Oh, let me pull out this thing here. Wait a minute. Okay. When an aircraft is no longer in distress, the traffic shall transmit a message cancelling the distress condition, or the ground station shall terminate the distress communication and silence condition. The flight itself, which was transmitting about the distress, can stop, can impose silence, or any ground station, like the tower, or the controlling authority, the approach, whatever unit of the air traffic control service, can terminate the Mayday, the distress signal. That's what it says. I think it's clear. Yared, can you use your camera, please?
ካሜራ ነው ያለው ኦልሬዲ።
ምንድነው? ጠፋ። እኔ ጋ ያለው ጠፋ።
አዎ አልጠፋም፣ ካሜራ ላይ ነው ያለው።
የኔ ጠፋ። ሮዚናን ብቻ ነው ማየው አሁን። I can see Rosina only. አንዴ አይቻለሁ እኮ just disappeared. Okay, anyway. As far as you can understand and communicate safely, that's what it means. You have understood,
Yes.
students?
I get the
Okay.
point. Yeah.
Okay. Emergency communication is giving example. Example is always very good. Somebody is requesting admission. Who is that? Okay. Emergency communication. Example, pilot. Bole Tower, Golf Charlie Delta. You see there, can you observe something? The full flight number, the full identification was Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta. So Alpha Bravo ቆረጠው። አሁን the first letter of the registration and the last two. So Golf Charlie Delta. It's clear, we have already discussed about this. We will discuss it later on and also in the practical application, for which we'll be together, no problem. So the pilot says, Bole Tower, Golf Charlie Delta, cancel distress, engine serviceable, runway in sight, request landing. So the pilot says, Bole Tower, please cancel the distress, engine is okay now, I have the runway in sight, may I land? That's what it says. Request landing clearance. The C, the controlling, Golf Charlie Delta, clear to land. Runway 35, wind 3508 knots. Pilot, clear to land. Here, reading back, you see how important it is. Any kind of clearance, you better read back. It's very, very important. Maybe the tower has said something else. Maybe the tower has said, do not land, overshoot. You can never know. So it's better to read back what the tower said to be 100% sure you are in a very safe condition. Controller, all stations, Bole Tower, distress traffic ended. So the controller, which is the tower now, is promulgating. The distress is ended. Everything is normalized now. It's clear, huh? No problem.
Yes.
Okay. Actually, all communications are between the pilot and the controller, or between two pilots, or maybe between two controllers. The dispatcher is there to see what is going on. The dispatcher has to know what goes on between the pilot and the controller. Unless he or she knows what's going on between the pilot and the controller, cannot be a dispatcher. Because there are so many regulations we'll learn later on, especially during practical application. You'll be surprised the dispatcher, one no motor soon. The dispatcher is the engine. You'll find out later on. This is just for your information. This is just for you to know. Emergency communication. Urgency messages. Page 120. An urgency message should contain as many of the elements of the distress message. The same thing. The call should be made on the frequency in use at the time, of course. The station addressed will normally be the station communicating with the aircraft, or the station in whose area of responsibility the aircraft is operating. It's just like the distress. It's exactly the same. All other stations should take care not to interfere with the transmission of urgency traffic. Read the whole page. No, just read the whole page silently for yourself. Page 120. If you remember, the distress message has elements to transmit. Aircraft identification, position, flight level, all those things. I don't know what page it was on. Let's go back and see. Let's go back and see. It was a long, here, distress message. A distress message should contain as many as possible of the following elements. It's exactly the same for urgency message also. Urgency message. It's exactly the same. Except some exceptions, it will tell you. This one, distress needs immediate assistance. Urgency needs not immediate assistance, but the normal assistance. As urgent as possible, not immediate. So, these are the elements. Let's go to page 120 again, just for you to memorize things. Here, urgency messages. It's just like distress. The same elements as you see there. You see them here also. You should apply the same thing with the proper sequence. Aircraft identification, position, nature of the problem, the intention of the person piloting the aircraft, and all those things. It's the same thing. You are ready listening?
Yes, Mr.
Okay. Nadir, I want to hear your voice. Where are
Yes.
you?
Yes.
Oh, you are coming in.
No, I came before.
But I didn't. Why don't you apply the camera?
Yeah, I applied, really.
Yeah, but I don't see anything except Rosina. I see Rosina here.
No, I applied. Look me well. Maybe there was some people came before me. Can you see me now, teacher?
No,
Are
I
you
see
sure?
Rosina only. Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay. Maybe.
That's-
How about Rosina? Rosina, can you see me?
Yes, I can see Arid, Nadir.
But the instructor doesn't see anybody except Rosina. Hey, what kind of... Why is that? There is nothing I touch here. Anyway, it's not a problem, issue. Page 120. an urgency message. Oh, somebody to read me. Somebody to read for me, actually. Somebody to read for me. Okay, Rosina, why don't you read for me all the elements there?
Okay, the elements or this one?
Yeah, urgency message, page 120.
Okay, okay. Urgency message. An urgency message should contain as many of the elements of the distress message. The call should be made on the frequency in use at the time. The station address will normally be the station communicating with the aircraft, or the station in whose area of responsibility the aircraft is operating. All other stations should take care not to interfere with the transmission of urgency traffic.
Okay. So an urgency message is exactly the same like the distress message, except that the distress message requires immediate assistance, and this one requires urgent assistance, but not immediate. So the steps are: the call should be made on the frequency in use at the time. Supposing they were on 8956, the frequency they were operating on. All flights were operating on this frequency, and then the distress message was transmitted on this frequency. So this sentence says the call should be made on the frequency in use at the time. The frequency should not change. If you change frequency, and if that is not transmitted to all stations that you have changed the frequency, then you get lost. You get lost. You never communicate, you never see each other. It's ciao. So you have to remain on the same frequency on which the distress was transmitted. Sorry, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. The station address will normally be the station communicating with the aircraft. Somebody is requesting admission. Okay. The station address will normally be the station communicating with the aircraft. During distress, this aircraft was transmitting to another aircraft in the air. So the station communicating with the aircraft, or the station in whose area of responsibility the aircraft is operating. I told you yesterday as an example, Khartoum. So you are within the Sudan airspace. That should be the station to be called, to be addressed. It's not Bole Tower, it's not Bole Approach, it's not Bole Information Center. Once you leave the boundary of Sudan and Ethiopia, and you come to Ethiopia, Ethiopian boundary, Ethiopian flight information region, then you communicate with Bole Tower or Bole Information Center. You leave Khartoum. But as far as you are within the Sudanese airspace, you have to communicate with Khartoum. That's what it's telling you. All other stations. All other stations should take care not to interfere with the transmission of urgency message, urgency traffic. Any station, regardless whether it's a ground station or aircraft station, should take care not to interfere with the transmission of urgency traffic. Pan, 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 pan. If you remember, like Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Nobody should interfere. Okay. Page 121. Emergency communication. The example is always good. If you cannot understand the literature, the sentences, the paragraphs properly, if you cannot understand the context properly, go to the example. The example will clarify. Always. Pilot says, pan, 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 pan. It should have been 3 times actually. Okay. Poletor, Golf Alpha Bravo. Now it brought, you see, Alpha Bravo. In the previous message, it was missing because it wanted to shorten the whole message. Poletor, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, Cessna 172, 2,000 feet, heading 190, above cloud, unsure of my position, request heading to Bole. You see, this pilot is not sure of his position, unsure. He's confused exactly where he is. So this is a very far flight. Had it been a far flight, it has all instruments. He will check the radar picture, he will check the compass, he will check all facilities there, and he will find out soon. Cessna is a light aircraft, as you know. It's a very small aircraft. So the pilot says, pan, 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 Bole, Tower, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, Cessna 172, 2,000 feet, heading 190 above cloud. Above cloud is a good message, okay. Unsafe, but you cannot penetrate the cloud. That is the problem. You cannot penetrate. It could be a very thick cloud, like cumulus. And there is a turbulence in cumulus, as you know. It could be CB, because Cessna doesn't have radar, doesn't know, cannot differentiate. So pan, 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 pan. It's transmitting urgent message. Bole Tower, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, Cessna 172, 2,000 feet, heading 190, above cloud. Unsure of my position, request heading to Bole. Controller, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, Bole Tower, fly heading 160. He gave him a heading, another heading, I think. Pilot, heading 160, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta. He's reading back with this number, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta. I think this example is clear. Huh? Nadir?
Yes, teacher, it's clear.
It's clear, yeah, okay. (122) page. Emergency communication. That's example 2. The previous one is example 1. This one is example 2. Pan, 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 pan. Bole Tower. Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta. 10 miles north at 2,000 feet. Passenger with suspected heart attack, you see. Request priority landing. So the passenger on board the aircraft has heart problem, heart attack, የልብ ድካም, priority ስጠኝ, Give me priority to land first. Otherwise, the passenger might die in the aircraft. Controller. Golf Charlie Delta, Bole Tower. You see, እንዴት እንደቆረጠው it cuts Alpha Bravo because this is time economy, you know. You have to economize time. You save seconds. It's very important. There is an urgency here. Golf Charlie Delta, Bole Tower. Number one, gave him priority, you see, number one. Cleared straight in approach, runway 17. Wind 18010 knots, QNH 1008. Ambulance alerted. So the tower received the message from the pilot, a person with heart attack. The tower called the clinic or the hospital. Like in Ethiopian Airlines, like Bole, Ethiopian Airlines has its own medical unit. Ambulance, everything is ready with the driver. So he has ambulance is alerted. The moment the aircraft lands, ambulance is there, will take him to the hospital and they will help there. Pilot, cleared straight in approach, runway 17, QNH 1008, Golf Charlie Delta. He's acknowledging Golf Charlie Delta is the aircraft. Straight in approach means you don't go here and there. You come straight in line with the runway. You don't go around the runway avoiding another traffic because the tower has already cleared all aircraft. There is an aircraft on emergency. Please clear. Go away. All aircraft went away. It's only Golf Charlie Delta remaining. So it gave him a straight line to shorten the time. It came straight and landed. Ambulance came and took it. Okay. Is that clear?
Yes, teacher, it's clear.
Yeah. The same thing. If there is a VIP flight, the same thing. If there is a military operation, if there is military people on board, if the prime minister is on board, it's the same thing. Just giving you example. You can apply any other example, by the way, you can think of. Maybe there is a third example. I don't know. Oh, no third example. Okay, I think that's enough, more than enough.
Yes.
Yeah. Page 123. 123, 123. Emergency descent. The aircraft is going to descend now. Emergency descent. When an aircraft announces that it is making an emergency descent, the controller will take all possible action to safeguard other aircraft. The general broadcast to warn aircraft of an emergency descent should be followed as necessary by specific instructions. Yes, Nadir.
Yes, teacher.
Can you interpret for us? We don't understand it. Can you elaborate the two sentences there? Page
Yeah,
123.
Okay, I will try. First of all, it started emergency descent. That means an emergency landing. When aircraft announces that it's making an emergency descent, whenever the aircraft decides to land emergency, the controller will take all possible action to safeguard other aircraft. That means the air controller will help that aircraft to land safely by keeping the other aircraft away from it. Because
away from it. Yeah, away from it. Yes, that's the most important.
And secondly is the general broadcast to one aircraft of an emergency descent should be followed
Should
as
be
necessary.
followed.
Yeah, as necessary by specific instruction. And the other one is the general broadcast. That means what the landing aircraft as emergency broadcasts means it tells the controller to be followed by an order to
Yeah.
to
That is
accept.
the most important. There is order of broadcasting.
Broadcasting by so it has to be followed by an order.
Yes, correct. That's what it means. That's exactly what it is. Emergency descent could be due to engine problem, due to fuel leak, or wing problem, flaps, anything. Anything, you can never know. It's just like human beings. A person reports, I'm sick. What kind of sickness? The heart, the lung, the kidney, the stomach? You can never, it's just like that. The same with aircraft. It's giving you example, you see. That's the most important. Page 124. Emergency descent. Example. Pilot. Ethiopian 345. Position North Cross. North Cross is a position the pilot training people put somewhere. Maybe it's a Bata or something. It's the place where they make the training usually. Ethiopia 345 position North Cross, emergency descent to flight level 100 due to decompression. You see, due to decompression. There is air shortage, oxygen shortage. That is decompression. Wherever there is oxygen shortage, all flights usually descend to flight level 10,000 feet. Usually, if you are already below 10,000 feet, light aircraft, it's all right, no problem. But the regulation says, due to decompression, shortage of oxygen, descend to flight level 10,000 feet. To descend to altitude 10,000 feet or flight level 100. That's the pilot. The pilot said Ethiopian 345, present position, North Cross, or Sabata, or Ambo, anywhere, or Makale, Dase, emergency descent to flight level 100 due to decompression. Controller, attention all aircraft in the vicinity of North Cross. Emergency descent in progress from flight level 350, 35,000 feet. That is a jet aircraft. To flight level 100, leave Amber 1 to the north immediately. All aircraft flying in airway Amber 1, leave that place, that airway to the north immediately. Amber 1 is the airway all aircraft were flying through. The one I promised you yesterday, just like the ICAO flight plan, the airway chart is a very, very big chart. I have promised that I will bring it and keep it with the library, with the librarian. And the moment we recover from this coronavirus, you'll come here and see it. The big chart, we'll go through it. It will take you only maximum of 30 minutes. We'll explain, we'll give you a very beautiful explanation and we'll have no problem. The pilot said North Cross from flight level 350, descending to flight level decompression. The control tower repeated the same thing, but with a different version. Attention all aircraft, all other aircraft except the one on emergency. Attention all aircraft in the vicinity of Ambo or Sabata or Dase. Emergency descent in progress from flight level 350 to flight level 100. Leave Amber 1 to the north immediately. Amber 1 is the airway through which all flights fly through. Is that clear?
Teacher, so that means this number one area, it's prepared for that
It's,
emergency landing.
it's a normal flying
And-
airway. It's not reserved.
Okay. So when the all other aircraft leave that number one, it means it's only prepared for emergency landing of flight 345. Yeah.
No.
Oh.
Listen, all flights, outbound or inbound, they were flying normally within airway. Amber 1.
Okay.
They were flying normally. Now suddenly the controller broadcast that there is an aircraft on emergency descent.
Okay.
All aircraft flying outbound or inbound on airway number 1 leave this airway to the north immediately.
Okay.
That's all. Otherwise, it's not reserved for emergency. No. There is nothing as such. You can never
Okay.
know where emergency arises. It could be
Okay.
10 miles south, it could be 1,000 miles south. How do you know?
Okay.
Yeah, it's only God which knows when emergency arises.
Yes.
Nobody knows. Rosina, is that clear?
Yes, it's clear, teacher.
Okay. Who can give me any example? I don't know. It's just to confirm that it's just to satisfy me. Yared, can you give me an example? Any other example with any other flight number? I will give you time. Just think, I'll give you 5 minutes for all of you. Be prepared. Prepare it on a paper. Give another number, fake number, flight number. Emergency descent is not only due to decompression. I have told you, fuel leak, engine problem, or cabin fire, or anything. It could be anything. Or the galley. The galley has fire. Galley means where they cook the food. The kitchen. Anything. I will give you 5 minutes. Prepare your message and you will shoot when you finish. But make a call first. Don't transmit blind.
I proceed?
Yeah, Yared, yes.
Ethiopia 0, position
Huh?
south cross, emergency descent to flight
No,
level,
wait a minute, wait a minute.
emergency.
Yared, do you read me?
Yeah, I read it, Mr.
Yeah, ትንሽ ፋስ ሆንክብኝ አልሰማሁትም የመጀመሪያውን።
Okay,
እሺ
እሺ፣ እሺ።
Okay, the pilot
Ethiopia, yeah, the pilot Ethiopia 540 position.
ኢትዮጵያን ኤን አለ ኢትዮጵያ አይደለም።
Ethiopian 540 position south cross, emergency descent to flight level 153 due to gas leaking. The controller, attention all aircraft in the vicinity of south cross, emergency descent in the progress from flight level 435 to flight level 153. Leave A1 to the south immediately.
All the same, perfect, perfect. Except when you give flight level, it has to be, the last one should be 0, actually. You cannot say 353. If you say 353, it means 35,300, you see? Did you get me, Yared?
Yes, Mr. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be 250. It could be 250. When you climb or descend, yes, you descend through hundreds. It's perfect. But when you mention flight level, it should be in thousands. Otherwise, it's perfect. It's very good. Okay. Taxi instructions, page 125. Taxi instruction. What is taxi instruction? What is taxi? Rosina. If you don't know, don't worry, because you have already told me you didn't study air traffic control service. Don't worry. If by chance you know taxi, you just tell me.
I think taxi means when the aircraft come to land, it come to land and it want to when it's going to parking, he will go just
Okay.
on the runway. That means I think taxi. Park the airplane. Going that way means taxi.
How about departing? How about departing aircraft? This is landing aircraft, the one you told me. Yes? Are we in the same ship?
Also, we need.
I think it means the.
Okay. Let's not waste time. I'll give you bird's eye view of this. Taxi clearance. Taxi means, in the aircraft sense, in aviation sense, there is an airport. Okay. There is within the airport there is a runway. There is apron where the passengers are seated, waiting for clearance to board the aircraft. Once, where I'm talking about departing aircraft, once the passengers board the aircraft, the pilot of that aircraft requests the tower to start engine. Both clearance, okay. We'll start engine. After finishing the engine, it will be pushed back. It will be pushed back. There is a tug pulling the aircraft. There is another big truck pulling the aircraft, turning the face to the taxiway. Now the aircraft is ready to taxi, not to take off, to taxi to the runway. That is taxiing. Leaving the apron, leaving the terminal where the passengers are boarding until it joins the runway, that is taxiing. That's what we call taxiing. In the same sense, after landing, the aircraft lands, clears the runway, it has to clear the runway, and joins the taxiway. Joins the taxiway until the terminal where there are passengers for evacuating the passengers or disembark. They call it disembark. Embark and disembark. Embark is loading, disembark is offloading. So ታክሲንግ እሱ ነው። መንገደኞች ጫናችሁ ቴክኦፍ ሊያደርግ ነው። መንገደኛ ጫናችሁ ሞተሩን አስነስቷል። ታክሲ እያደረገ ነው። ገና ራንዌይ ውስጥ አልገባም። ዛት ኢዝ ታክሲንግ። ታክሲዌዎች አሉ። ታክሲዌይ ቁጥርም አላቸው። ታክሲዌይ 1፣ ታክሲዌይ 2፣ ታክሲዌይ 7፣ ታክሲዌይ ኤ፣ ታክሲዌይ G5 ምናምን የተለያየ ነበር። አውሮፕላኑ አርፎ እንደገና በዛ በራንዌይ ውስጥ ታክሲ ማድረግ የለበትም። ፈትለክ ማለት አለበት በታክሲዌዩ ለማሳጠር። ሌላ አውሮፕላን ደግሞ ቴክ ኦፍ እና ላንድ ስለሚያደርግ ይጠቀምበታል። To let other aircraft landing and taking off, the aircraft should not taxi on the runway. Once it lands, it has to clear the runway and follow the taxiway. Before takeoff, the same thing. It's very simple. Nadir, is that clear? Because I have mixed the Amharic here.
Actually, it's not clear for me.
Huh?
Yeah, it's not clear for me.
The taxi?
Yes.
It's not clear?
Yes, teacher.
Yared, is it clear?
Yeah, is it clear for me?
Can you explain to Nadir?
Okay. Taxi means the movement of aircraft on the ground by his own engines or before takeoff.
Slowly, Yared, slowly, very slowly. you are in a hurry.
Okay. The movement of aircraft in the ground by his
Slowly.
own engine.
You are very fast. You have been in, had you been in my place, you could not teach. You cannot teach students like that. Okay. Oh, okay, try.
The movement of aircraft in the ground by his own engines or before his takeoff, he must to taxi at the runway or at the takeoff runway. So that time we call it taxi. The plane is in the taxi.
Nadir, are you listening?
Can I understand?
Okay, Rosina, can you explain?
Okay, let me try. The airplane before takeoff or after landing, the aircraft should first, before it goes to the runway, the aircraft.
No, identify departure first and then arrival. Well, by sequence. First,
Yes.
Advise him about the departure. Departing aircraft.
Before it's going to the runway, it have to taxi. First, it goes to the passengers, and after the passenger, to just After runway, it's not taxiing. If after runway get it, it should be before the runway. It will tax on the place.
I will explain. Nadir, are you listening?
Yes, teacher, I'm listening.
Okay. Now you are a passenger to Hargeisa. Okay.
Yes.
The aircraft is Ethiopian 500. You have gone to Bole. You have gone to the terminal. You are already sitting in the aircraft. Sitting in the aircraft. You are waiting for the aircraft to start engine. The aircraft starts engine and then requests taxi clearance. It's requesting the tower to taxi to the runway. You are already in the terminal, passenger terminal. You understand passenger terminal?
Yes, yes.
You are already in the terminal in the aircraft. The aircraft which is carrying you is already taxiing to the runway. Before joining the runway, it has to taxi for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depending upon the size of the airport. In London, you'll taxi for about 30 minutes because it's a very, very big airport. Bole, maybe 10 minutes. It's very short. So the aircraft will taxi after the terminal, carrying you, taxi, 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 and then will stop before entering the runway. Now, the pilot of your aircraft requests the tower, may I enter the runway? Ethiopian 500, you are clear to enter the runway. He will enter the runway, take off. Okay, already took off. Another aircraft is coming in, carrying Rosina. She is coming from Frankfurt. Rosina already landed on runway 07. Landed there. Now she has to taxi to the terminal, leaving the runway through the taxiway. So taxiing is after, before departure and after arrival. For about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depending upon the size of the runway, depending upon the size of the airport. Am I clear now, Nadir?
Yes, teacher, you are clear.
Yeah. After boarding the aircraft, it cannot just go and take off. It cannot. It has to taxi. That's what the movement of this aircraft is called taxi. Very simple. Let's see the example. Page 125. Bole ground instead of Bole tower. Because Bole ground is the ground. That's another controlling authority before the tower. Bole ground, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, at Ethiopian hangar. It's in the hangar there, in the garage. Hangar means garage, where the aircraft are maintained. Bole ground, for Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, at Ethiopian hangar. Request taxi for local training flight. There is a training aircraft in the hangar, in the garage of Ethiopian Airlines. That is a very small aircraft, training aircraft. It's requesting taxi clearance for local training. It's going out for local training. The controller says, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, taxi via taxiway Bravo. You see, the taxiway has a name. The name is Bravo. It has a name. Bravo. Runway 25 right. Runway 25 right. If it is L, it is left. Runway 25 right. Alpha to holding position, runway 07. Holding position is you finish taxiing, you are going to take off, but you don't enter the runway. You just hold short of the runway. That is holding position. You don't enter the runway. You have finished taxiing, but you don't enter the runway. That is holding position. You see, had it been a blackboard here, instead of the disadvantage for online training is this one. This is a disadvantage, you see. Had it been a normal class, I would have shown you on the blackboard, taking my chalk, this is the taxiway, this is the runway, and then take off. Finished. You'll understand. Okay, ciao, ma'asalam. Now it's online training, Zooming, we have a problem. Okay, maybe we will have a picture. Next, pilot, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, QNH 10, request runway 25 left. You see there, is the picture clear? It's very, very complicated. You see the picture there?
Yes, we see teacher.
But it's not clear.
Yeah, somehow.
Yeah, that is the problem, you see. Had it been a normal class, I would have drawn this runway for you. I will show the taxiway. Everything clear, and then you'll understand better. So online training or Zooming, this is a disadvantage. Anyway, the most important thing you have to catch is train your brain. Runway, as you know, is a big strip of land on which an aircraft rolls for takeoff or an aircraft rolls after landing. You know runway? You have seen runway? Nadir,
Yes, yes.
you know runway?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. Yared, Antam Taupar, runway.
Yes, teacher.
Okay. Rosina, you know runway?
Yes, teacher.
Huh?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So the other strips ሌሎች መስመሮቹ ታክሲዎች ናቸው ማለት ነው። በቃ runway ካያችሁ the other things remaining around are the taxiways. Joining the runway with the terminal where the passengers are. Very simple. But it's not that simple, but it's not... take a note anyway. Take a note when we start class here at the National College. Please remind me about the runway, taxiways, and the terminal. Take a note, please.
Okay.
It's very simple actually, but sorry anyway. It's something I cannot help. It's very simple. The movement area between the terminal where the passengers board and the runway are the taxiways. The area between the runway and the boarding area are the taxiways. They have different names. Taxiway Bravo, Taxiway Charlie, Taxiway Delta, Taxiway Zulu, taxiway Alpha Zulu, taxiway Amber 1, taxiway Charlie 2, different names. So the pilot P, page 125, the pilot is pilot training aircraft. It's a student pilot. It's not a big aircraft, it's a student pilot. Bole ground, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta at Ethiopian hangar, Ethiopian garage. Request taxi, request to move, request to taxi. That's movement. Taxi is movement for local training flight. They make local training usually around Akaki area. You know Akaki? Or Basaka area. You know Akaki? You know Nufasik?
Yeah, we know.
Huh?
አዎ
ያሬ ንፋስን ከአቃቂ አታውቅም?
አውቃለሁ።
በቃ እዛ ነው ትሬኒንግ የሚያደርጉት ሰማይ ላይ። ናዲር ቢሊ ያው ይችላል፣ ምክንያቱም ለትሬኒንግ ነው የመጣው፣ ላያውቅ ይችላል። ሜቢ እዚህ ሀገር ከቆየ እሱም ያውቅ ይሆናል። So they request taxi clearance for local training. The controller or the ground control. Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, taxi via taxiways Bravo, the taxiዎች ስም አሉ። Runway 25 right, Alpha to holding point runway 07 right, wind 070 degrees 8 knots, QNH 1015, time 30, past the hour of course. It could be 10, it could be 1130, it could be 1230, but it's past that hour. Hour usually አይነገርም፣ ምክንያቱም ረጅም 60 ደቂቃ ስለሆነ they usually use the minutes only to avoid time, to avoid complicating. Pilot Golf Bravo QNH 10 request runway 25 left. He wanted to use runway 10. The pilot, the controller gave him 25 right, if you remember. The controller gave him 25 right, but the pilot requested 25 left. This is a picture which you cannot understand anyway. It's not that much a big issue. Whether the dispatcher knows taxiway or boarding terminal or so, but has to know the runway, has to know the taxiway for discussion between the dispatcher and the pilot. Anytime there could be a discussion between the pilot and the dispatcher. When the pilot talks about the runway and the taxiway and the terminal, the dispatcher has to understand. That's why we are trying now. Oh, click to add type. What is this, nightclub? You see the picture, Nadir?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, don't worry. It does not worry you. I'll explain later on when the time comes. Okay? It will take me only 30 minutes to explain all this. It's very simple. Don't worry. This is, had the previous picture been like that, it would have been beautiful. This is clear, yes?
Yes, it's clear.
Yes. They could have made it clear. This is clear. You see the runway now, the black one?
Yes, you see it.
That's the runway where the aircraft take off, land on, take off from. That's the runway. All those aircraft are in the traffic pattern around the runway. They are in the air. They are in the air, but around the runway. They are not on ground. They are in the air. Okay. Supposing, well, had they given the runway number or all that, it would have been beautiful, but they didn't give runway number. Anyway, as you see the picture, you see that aircraft near 45 departure.
Yes.
You see that aircraft?
Yes.
Or you come from the east. You come from the east. You just face the board, the screen. To your right is east, yes?
Yes.
To your left is west, naturally. Unless you acknowledge, I understand that you didn't understand me. Is it clear?
Yes, teacher, it's clear.
Rosie?
Yes, teacher. It's clear.
Well, okay. Let's also jump this because I don't know how, when we come to air traffic management, it's full of pictures. I don't know how to explain. This is only aviation communication. Ah. So what I have to do is draw another picture and bring it tomorrow
Yes.
to give it to you.
Like the flight planning, teacher.
Flight plan is already printed, you know. I'm not good
Yeah,
in drawing these pictures, you know.
Okay.
But I will try. I will try to find out. I don't know. Yes. No picture here. Let me explain only the three things here. The three things here. You see downwind, the word downwind, up there, downwind.
Yes.
You see downwind?
Yes, teacher, we see.
Yes, teacher.
That position in relation to the runway is called downwind. The aircraft is in the air, but can see the runway. If he is in that position, he is on downwind position. That position is called downwind position for the runway, the black runway. Who is this? I told him to admit. Somebody is calling for admission, but I cannot see the picture. Okay, you see that word downwind and the aircraft. Huh?
Yes.
That position is downwind for the runway. You see next, the aircraft is coming for landing now. You see the next position, base. Base.
Yes.
That is base leg position. It's turning to the left. That position is called base leg. Again, aircraft is turning now to land. You see the word final?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
That position is final. It's coming for landing. After that, it will land. That's all. Downwind, base leg, final. Downwind, base leg, final. The same position to the right. You can put it this side also, the right position. You can change the direction here also to the right. So you'll say right downwind instead of left. Then base leg, final. Downwind, base leg, final. Downwind, base leg, final. That is what they call traffic pattern. The traffic pattern. An aircraft coming for landing, say from Jimma, an aircraft is coming from Jimma, it's a training aircraft, requests Boletao to join the traffic pattern. Boletao approves the joining and tells the training aircraft, call again downwind runway 07, downwind runway 25. He will join that downwind and will tell the position, I am on downwind runway 25 or runway 07. Okay. Report base leg. Aircraft keeps on moving, and then turns to the left. Now reports, I'm on base leg. Keep on moving. Call again on final. Aircraft calls you on final. All those things are confusing now. Just put your hand there on the picture, in the screen, on the screen. You leave downwind, base leg, and final only. You rub off the rest. You'll understand better. Rosie, keep your hand on the screen. You have a laptop? Laptop? Huh?
No. Yes.
Rosie,
Yes, teacher. Okay.
speak louder, please. Speak louder. I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
You have a laptop?
Yes.
Okay. Put your right hand on the screen, starting 45. You see the 45 entry, 45
Yeah.
entry, including upwind. Close those things.
Okay. I will close it. Okay.
And what are those three words remaining now? You can see.
Downwind, base, final.
That's it. Those things were confusing you. Put your right hand there on the screen, and you see the runway, downwind, base, final.
Yes.
Finished. Those are the positions the dispatcher should know. We don't care about 45 entry, 45 departure, straight out departure, crosswind. We don't care. Don't worry. I'll explain later on. The most important items we need now are put your hand on 45 entry and upwind. What remains there are the four items: the runway itself, final, base, downwind. Nadir, clear?
Yes, teacher, it's clear.
Ah, finished. If you depart on the runway. If you land, you land on the runway. After takeoff, if you want to join downwind, you join downwind. Forget those 5 pictures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pictures. Forget them. No. You follow up only downwind, bed leg, final, and runway. Okay?
Yes. Okay.
I'm going to ask you, very simple. Don't worry. Nobody will take you to the prison if you cannot answer. Rosina,
Okay.
you are coming from the north of the screen. You see the screen? You are facing the screen.
Yes.
You are coming from the north. Speak louder, please. Rosie,
Okay. Okay.
come closer to the microphone.
Okay. Okay, teacher.
Yeah. You are coming to the runway now. You are coming to the runway. You are in the air now. You are an aircraft.
Okay.
You are coming from the north.
Okay.
Which one do you see first? The downwind, the bed leg, or the final? Which one do you join first?
The downwind.
Yes. Perfect. And then?
The base.
Very good. And then?
Final.
That is it. And you land. That's all. That's all. But the aircraft on emergency, like we learned it before, the aircraft on distress or urgency will land straight final without using downwind and bed leg. Will use final.
Straight to the final.
Straight in approach. Yes. Only final. Will not call bed leg, will not call downwind. Will come straight final and land. Because it's on emergency, it's on urgency. Is that clear?
Yes.
An aircraft which is usually making straight in approach is an aircraft coming from the west of your screen. Yes, correct?
Yes, teacher.
Your left hand is to the west
Yeah.
on the screen.
Yes.
Your camera is to the north of your screen. I'm talking about your screen. So when the tower tells whatever aircraft, Alitalia 500, Japan Air 600, or whatever aircraft, or a training aircraft, join downwind, it will join downwind, the one you see. It will join, then call bed leg, you call bed leg. Then final. This pattern will take about 5 to 6 minutes or 7 minutes, depending upon the speed of the aircraft. That's all. Very simple. One day, mashallah, ፈጣሪ ያውቃል እሱ ያለ እንደሆነ ፒክቸሩን አምጥቼ ያሳያችኋለሁ። በጣም ቀላል ነው። ኦር ፕራክቲካል ትሬኒንግማ ስትጀምሩ አሉ ቴክ ኢት ቱ ዘ ኤርፖርት ዩ ዊል ሲ ዘ ታክሲዌይ ፊዚካሊ ራንዌውን ታያላችሁ፣ ታክሲዌውን ታያላችሁ፣ ሰዎች ሲጫኑ ታያላችሁ፣ ተርሚናሉ ዩ ዊል ሲ ኤቭሪቲንግ። የአራት የአምስት ደቂቃ ፓኖራማ ነው በቃ። ከዛ በኋላ you know everything and this should not worry you. I am responsible for that. Nadir,
Yes, teacher.
an aircraft is coming from the west off your screen.
Okay.
You call him downwind or you give him final?
No, I call it base.
Base is also good. Then final.
Then final, yeah.
Okay, that's also arbitrary, no problem. An aircraft coming from the north, usually downwind.
That one, yeah.
Yeah. An aircraft coming from the south,
It's final.
final or another base leg. The opposite, there is another base leg which you cannot see. Down here.
Okay.
There is another downwind also to the right. Right
Yes.
pattern. Yeah. That's, you should be able to visualize. There is also, this is a left-hand pattern. The other one is right-hand pattern. You will see it. It's very simple. You will see all the pilot training aircrafts making a pattern. Touch and go, touch and go, touch and go. Following, call downwind, call base leg. You will also see the control tower. We will go there to the control tower and see the controllers. They will talk to you. It's very simple. So the best thing temporarily is to avoid those things, those pictures, those 5 aircraft. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 45, the straight out, the crosswind, and the upwind. Forget them temporarily for the time being. Okay, taxi instructions. Once you know the taxiway, taxi instructions, the controller. Golf Charlie Delta, recleared holding point runway 25 left. Taxi behind the Cessna coming from 25 left. Golf Charlie Delta requested taxi clearance earlier, if you remember. Now the tower, the controller, C, the controller is reclearing. Reclear means give another clearance. Reclearing holding point runway 25 left. Taxi behind another aircraft. There is a Cessna ahead of you, coming from runway 25 left, so that they will not collide. እንዳይጋጩ ነው። ሌላ አውሮፕላን ከፊት ስላለ እየመጣ ነውና እንድታየው እንዳይጋጩ ማለቱ ነው። He is telling to this aircraft that there is another aircraft of its kind coming from 25 left, runway 25 left. All the runways have their names. They have names, like Rosina, like Shatu, like me, like Yared. They have permanent names. And that is marked in big letters, with big letters, that you can see them from the sky. From 15, 20,000 feet, you can see the runway. Runway, the numbers you can see, they are very big. Big numbers and big letters. The pilot, Golf Charlie Delta, holding point runway 25, traffic sight, traffic in sight. They put in there very far away, I don't know why. Traffic in sight. I have seen the other traffic. The controller told him, there is a Cessna coming from the left. Watch out. እንዳትገጨው ብሎት ነበረ። Ishi. All right. Go to Charlie Delta, holding point, runway 25. Traffic inside. I know. I'll get you home. Okay. Example 2. Who can read for me? Yared.
Bowling ground.
Mm-hmm. Yes? Rosina, do you read Yared?
No, Yared. It's
Yared went off.
mute on Yared. Unmute.
He went out.
Okay, what about now?
Yeah.
Bowling ground. It's 2% on board.
No.
In runs the
Bowling ground will have none.
አፕሊኬሽኖችን ልበላቸው
ኤኮ ታንጎ አልፋ ሆቴል አልፋ ጠሪው እኮ ነው
እኮ ልበላቸው ኦኬ
ታዲያ
ቦሌ ግራውንድ ኤኮ ታንጎ አልፋ 2% on the board
አልፋ
ኢንዱራንስ ዜሮ
ቆይ በደንብ አነብልኝ ኤኮ ታንጎ አልፋ
ኤኮ ታንጎ አልፋ
ሆቴል አልፋ
No, I don't read you well. I don't know why. Bowling ground, Eco Tango, Alpha, Hotel Alpha, 2% on the board. In run 0400 hours. Training area west. Lake request taxi for the takeoff.
You are very fast, by the way. Very, very fast. Okay, anyway. Rosina, can you read for us? P.
Okay. Bowling ground, Eco Tango, Alpha Hotel Alpha, 2% on board, endurance 0400 hours, training area west of the lake, request taxi for takeoff.
You see, this is the way to read it. Nadir, Yared, very, very, very fast. እንኳን ተማሪ ቀርቶ አስተማሪውም አይከተላችሁም አይችልም አንደኛ number 1 I cannot follow up even if I follow up I cannot exactly read correctly grammatical mistake ካለ ለማረም አልችልም I cannot correct grammatical mistakes because you are very fast not 100 words per minute 200 is 200 words per minute. Bowling ground, Eco Tango Alpha Hotel, 2% on board, endurance for our training with the lake request. Oh, God. Nobody could listen to you. The tower could not listen to you. The students could not listen to you. Nobody could do it. So, okay. Example 2, Bowling ground, Eco Tango Alpha Hotel Alpha. Bowling ground is a controlling authority. Eco Tango Alpha Hotel Alpha is the aircraft calling. It's reporting 2% on board, endurance 0400 hours, training area west of the lake, request taxi for takeoff. Controller. Eco Tango Alpha Hotel Alpha, Bowling ground. Taxi to holding point, runway 07, right, via Bravo, X-ray 25, right, 07 left, Bravo, wind 08012, QNH 1025. Should not confuse you. You don't have to worry. All these things are the communications between the controller and the aircraft. The dispatcher is not there at all, cannot communicate with the flight or the control tower. He is there to listen to what they are doing. So what is the training for? What is the purpose of the training? The purpose of the training is the dispatcher later on faces the pilot. Faces on the, for every flight, the dispatcher and the pilot are there every day to discuss about taxi clearance, about emergency training, about taxi clearance, about emergency descent, and everything we learned here will be discussed on later on with the pilot. To get a dispatcher license, there is a pilot who comes here, who comes there maybe in the head office, who will give you training on performance. He is a pilot. Maybe a white man later on, we don't know. Maybe could not be an Ethiopian. Could be any white man from Europe, or could be any pilot from Africa. But he will teach you in English and will discuss everything in English. That's where the picture comes in. All these things will be provided to you, will be shown to you when we go to the airport. Don't worry. 07 right, via Bravo, via X-Ray. There is a picture there. In the Jepson, they call it Jepson. Jepson, actually. They call it Jepson. That is the manual all pilots carry in their briefing kit. Briefing bag. They call it the briefing bag. It's a big bag, black one. Mostly, if you have seen it, it's made of leather. I'm sure you have seen in the film. Mostly, all pilots they have their own briefing bag. It's a big bag, and they have the Jepson there. In the Jepson, all these things I showed you now, all these things we are discussing are there. And should not worry you. They are available. Don't worry. P, the last one. Taxi to holding point, runway 07 right, via Bravo to X-ray 25 right, 07 left, Bravo, QNH 1025, Hotel Alpha. Hotel Alpha is the end of the aircraft. The fourth and fifth letter of the aircraft. Echo Tango Alpha, Hotel Alpha, they put it there, Hotel Alpha. If it is not clear, please ask me, because there is a lot of talking here. And we have a blackboard, I would have already explained and you would have understood, you could have understood. But we are unfortunate because of this cholera or whatever this coronavirus, we are suffering here. So Nadir, you have any problem?
No, teacher.
Yared, is that clear?
Yes, Chair. It's clear now.
Yeah? Is that clear?
It's clear for me.
Take a note anyway, take a note, anything, take a note when everything recovers, when everything normalizes itself, we'll discuss on it practically. We have practical training for about 3 or 4 months. You don't have to worry, you will see them physically. It should not worry you. But take a note. Prepare a notebook and ask anything. Taxi instructions. Clearance may vary in content from a detailed description of the route and level to be flown into a brief landing clearance. Clearance means authorization, authority, clear to land, clear to take off, clear to climb, clearance in a way. ክሊራንስ ህይወት አድን ነው። ትልቅ ነገር ነው። ምንም በማታዩት ድቅድቅ ጨለማ ውስጥ ሲቪ ምናምን ባለበት ክሊራንስ ይሰጣቸዋል። where there is a turbulence like CV cloud, will give you clearance. If you don't agree, you have to take the controlling authority, whatever it is, control tower, approach, or tell it that you cannot penetrate through that cumulonimbus cloud, CV cloud. Better circumnavigate, better go around, avoid it, take extra time, take extra burn of the fuel, and then safe operation. You have the right. Clearance ማለት authority, instruction. It is authoritative instruction. In other words, clear to climb, clear to descend, clear for takeoff, clear to land. Clearance. Okay. A clearance may vary in content from a detailed description of the route and levels to be flown to a brief landing clearance. He's telling you there are so many types of clearances, just like I told you. These clearances vary from route clearance up to landing clearance. There are so many clearances en route. Go down to this level. Climb up to that level. That's a route clearance. Turn to the right, turn to the left to avoid another aircraft is coming over. Head on. That's a clearance. ሊገጭ ነው አውሮፕላንና ወደ ግራ ወደ ቀኝ ዙር የሚለው is a clearance. Taxi clearance, especially at airports like London, where you cannot, very foggy, you cannot see the airport clearly. You put the landing light of the aircraft, and still you cannot see anything. But the tower has a radar, primary radar, secondary surveillance radar, and it can see the aircraft, not only you, but other aircraft also. And it will give you taxi clearance. Taxi this way, turn to the left, taxi that way, turn to the right. Taxi straight ahead because you can see the other aircraft there clearly from the tower. The tower, you know, like Mama Milut. Fokno, Kot Manas. Taxi instructions issued by a controller will always contain a clearance limit. When the control tower gives you taxi instruction, he will not usually give you taxi clearance into the runway, direct, no. He will give you up to this, up to that, not direct into the runway. Because there are landing aircraft, taking off aircraft. It's full of complications. It's full of traffic. So it has a clearance limit. That's what it's talking about. It will give you holding position runway 07. Means taxiway hold before entering the runway. There is holding position. It's marked there. So the controller will always contain a clearance limit. That's a clearance limit. For departing aircraft, the clearance limit will normally be the taxi holding point of the runway in use. That's the problem. Maybe the previous one, taxi instructions issued by, number one you have seen, okay. Taxi instructions issued by controller will always contain a clearance limit. Maybe it is for a landing aircraft, clearance limit. Descend to flight level 110. That's a clearance limit. Descend up to Akaki. Akaki now. Kakaki Bohana, he will give them another reclearance. He will be recleared. That is the second one. The second one. After departure also, cleared for takeoff. Cleared, continue climb until Debre Zeit. Until you reach Debre Zeit is the clearance limit. Then continue climb, avoiding the restricted, the military area. Military area ስላለ avoid አድርገዋል። ዛት ፒክቸር አለ ተለጥፏል፣ ተሰርቷል። አውሮፕላን ውስጥ አለ ያውቁታል። ቻርት አለ የተሰራው። ወሬ አያደርጉም እነሱ። That's a clearance limit. For departing aircraft holding position ብሏል። But it may be any other position. ይህ ብቻ መሆን የለበትም። Anything, it could be anything else, but a clearance limit. But it may be any other position on the aerodrome, depending on the prevailing traffic circumstances. ሌላ የትራፊክ ሙቭመንት ያንቺ አውሮፕላን ብቻ አይደለም። It's not only your aircraft which is moving there. There are 123 aircraft there. Ethiopian Airlines has 123 aircraft. They are moving on the apron. One to the left, one to the right, full of aircraft. So you have to watch out. You have to listen properly on the assigned, the designated frequency. On the assigned frequency. Listen properly. Prevailing traffic circumstances. Ethiopian Airlines, 123 aircraft. There is Alitalia coming in. There are VIP aircraft, other VIP aircraft. There is Air India. There is Japan Airlines. There is American military aircraft. So many aircraft around. Yemen. There is Somali Airlines around there. It's not only you. So it may be, but it may be any other position on the aerodrome, depending on the prevailing traffic circumstance. ዛሬ ሆልዲንግ ፖዚሽን ሰጥቶሽ እንደው ሌላ ጊዜ ደግሞ ሌላ ነገር ነው የሚሰጥሽ። ዲፔንዲንግ ኦን ትራፊክ ሰርከምስታንስስ። ታክሲ ኢንስትራክሽንስ again. Okay, who got it for me? I'm a bit tired now. Rosie.
Okay, teacher. When a taxi clearance contain a taxi limit beyond a runway, it shall contain an explicit clearance to cross or an instruction to hold short of that runway. At busy aerodromes with separate ground and tower functions, aircraft are usually transferred to the tower at or when approaching the taxi holding point.
Okay. When a taxi clearance contains a taxi limit beyond the runway, it shall contain an explicit, this computer is, it shall contain an explicit clearance to cross or an instruction to halt short of that runway. In Bole, we have two runways, not one runway. We have two runways. Supposing you want to use the other runway, the furthest runway, the controller wants to use the furthest runway, crossing taxiways and also the first runway. Do you understand me? Hello? Anybody reading
Yes,
me?
teacher. Yes, we read you.
Yes.
There are two runways. Between the runways, there could be a taxiway. Maybe there could be a taxiway. It does not matter. In London, there are 3-4 runways. In Frankfurt, the same thing. In between, there are taxiways. But all are numbered, designated. They have numbers for reference. And it says, when a taxi clearance contains a taxi limit beyond the runway, it shall contain an explicit clearance to cross or an instruction to hold short of that runway. Explicit means clear and easy to understand. That's what I got from the dictionary. Clear and easy to understand, explicit. That's what it is. You people have to go to the dictionary. You have to visit a dictionary now and then. You have to prepare yourself to be instructors. You cannot always be students. You can one day be instructor. So you have to make yourself ready. Start it from today. Clear and easy to understand, explicit. When a taxi clearance contains a clear and easy to understand beyond the runway, it shall contain an explicit clearance to cross or an instruction to hold short of the runway. If an aircraft is cleared to taxi to the other runway, crossing around the other runway and a taxiway between them, there should be a taxi limit. Because it's very confusing. It has to be very, very clear. There is a runway, you cross that runway, there is a taxiway, you cross the taxiway, and then you join the other runway. It's very complicated. It's very complicated. So this thing has to be explicit, easy to understand, and it has to be clear by the control tower. And the aircraft which receives the instruction, the clearance, has to read back. Had I had a blackboard, I would have shown you how to cross, how to join the other runway, how to, anyway. But crossing the runway, that's what you should have in your mind. To cross the runway, you should have very clear and understandable instruction from the control tower. It has to be clear. At busy aerodromes with separate ground and tower functions, you see there? At busy aerodromes with separate ground and tower instructions, functions, airports like London, Frankfurt, New York, or very busy airports, aircraft are usually transferred to the tower at or when approaching the holding point. They will avoid the ground control. The tower will take everything. The tower will take over everything. You will control everything. Busy aerodromes. Because there would be too much communication. When I transmit to Rosina, Yared listens. When Yared transmits to Nadir, Shatu listens. And this will confuse instructions. And finally, aircraft will collide. And you can lose lives. And you can also close the airport because of that wrong mistake. So you have to take care. When you cross the runway, you should have taxi. The clearance should have taxi limit beyond the runway. The clearance should be explicit, should be clear, short, and easy to understand. And at busy aerodromes, the second one, the function of the ground control will be taken by the control tower. At busy airports like London, Frankfurt, New York, or Brussels, or Athens, or something like that, or Beijing, China. That's what it says. $12 lunchtime. Too much talking today. 12 o'clock lunchtime. See you tomorrow, 10 o'clock. By the way, you have to read before me. You have to read everything, mark it there, see in the dictionary if you cannot understand the word, and be ready with what you ask. That would make you a good student. You will one day be an instructor. You will one day teach your own students, your own family. And you should start from now. Don't be fed up of anything. Don't be fed up. የዛሬ ልጆች ደካማዎች ናቸው ይባላሉ። እኛ ደካማ አይደለንም ብላችሁ ብቅ በሉ ባካችሁ። Please. Modern students are very lousy, you know. I don't know why. You should not be lousy. Especially, I don't want to see my students to be lousy. Because I am sure, I tell you, I'm not lousy. I'm very young in heart and very healthy. MashaAllah. Very okay. Huh?
Yeah, we know, teacher.
Okay. I don't get exhausted very simply. Especially in instructing people like this. If I have a blackboard, I would have felt very happy. Unfortunately, I flew in the face of that good fortune. I could not make it anyway. So, 12 o'clock lunch, see you tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Goodbye.
Okay, goodbye.